Hey, welcome back to Don't Give Up Your Daydream. We're speaking with Samir Butt. Samir, you said something to me in our preliminary phone call about having to work hard. I think that's such a good lesson for so many people who aspire to lead a creative life. Let's talk about the hard work.
Sure. I mean, I aspire to that. I don't know if I always succeed at that, but yeah, it's I think it's crucial. It's more about the perspiration than the inspiration, I think, for success.
Like you, so you're working.
As that sounds.
No, I think it's true. I think people need to know that. Like you were working what would normally be a 9 to 5, pretty high stressful job, and then you were working 2 jobs through most of your 20s, right?
Essentially, yeah, through all of my 20s.
Yeah.
And one of those jobs was essentially just an internship that didn't pay for the most part.
Yeah.
That's really what my arts career was for a good 6-7 years.
Yeah. It was just learning.
Yeah.
Just learning, yeah. And that's the best way to learn, to get up on stage, to write, to how much of a networker were you? I mean, did you network a lot? Did you network with the intention of landing a job, or was it just because you were hanging with people you liked? So
here's the thing. I'm a terrible networker. I'm just not good at that. The one thing I'm very aware of is my shortcomings, whether it's in writing or as a director, because I don't hide from them. Like I always have to know what they are, because if there's any hope of overcoming that, it is to first accept that they exist. And so one of my challenges is the whole networking and selling myself thing. And so that is one of the hardest things for me to do, or that is where I feel that I've fallen short the most.
Yeah.
So I wasn't. So I wasn't a very good networker, and I'm still not, and I still work at that. And I think that is one of the most important things for this career, for anything, but especially in the arts, because what I do now as a filmmaker, I'm working on a screenplay that I've written a screenplay that I'm trying to raise money for to make a movie. There is a lot of networking, because you have to go out and you have to raise the money, one, and then two, there is a certain amount of you have to be able to talk about it with conviction and passion before someone else can feel the passion to want to come on board and collaborate with you, whether as an investor or as an actor or whatever. And that shyness, that hesitation to talk about your own work is kind of my Achilles heel.
Yeah, but I think a lot. You spoke about passion. I found that since I've entered into the creative world, so to speak, I am a lot more passionate when I speak to people. I'm a lot more, because I really believe the things that I'm talking about and what I'm saying. I find myself, I'm at the gym, or I'm talking about my radio show. I've read with relative strangers, and I walk away from the conversation thinking to myself, I would never have said that 2 or 3 years ago. I just wouldn't have done it. And I think it's because if you're doing what you love, which is what we're all about here at Don't Give Up Your Daydream, if you're doing what you love and you're passionate about it, it flows through into your normal everyday life. I really believe that it does.
You're absolutely right. And the thing is that every single time I have kind of forced myself to do that, step out of my comfort zone, I have not yet been disappointed. It's always been, people, generally speaking, people respond in a very positive and supportive way. But for whatever reason, that has been my challenge. And yeah, I mean, it is something that I constantly work on, and that I'm trying and striving to be better at. And yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that especially in the arts, which aren't very structured the way most other jobs are, that is a key skill and tool to have in your arsenal. It's the ability to network and promote yourself and talk about your work, and in a healthy professional way, not with hubris and bluster, but in a sensible way, because every time I have done that, it is I've generally gotten a very good response, and I've always stopped and said, why don't I do that more often?
I know.
So,
I know. I hear you.
Yeah.
When did you got your first real directing gig? Sort of by happenstance, we'll say. Is that right?
That is right. Yeah. I had never directed anything for anything real, so to speak. But a friend of mine it was a pretty, when I think back, it was a pretty plush job, and it was the ignorance of not knowing any better, but it was to shoot video for these this high-end watch company had these video displays in all these like watch shops all over the world, where they'd show like a few minutes of video on a loop, where you had models kind of cavorting in a mall or on a boat or something like that. So this friend of mine, and the shoot was in Switzerland. It was in Zurich and Geneva, and he couldn't travel because he had immigration issues, and he's like, I don't know, if I leave the country, I may not be able to come back. So do you want to go do this for me?
Wow.
So I said, all right, I'll do it. And I'd never done this before, and so I got on a plane and I went to Zurich, and that's really, for me, that's when I knew I wanted to be a director. I'm like, okay, this is, of all the things I've seen, this is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
And,
see, now
and if
that
I can
struck me when you said that. It struck me. First thing I asked you was how old you were when that first happened. How long was it till?
I was either 29 or 30. And the other thing that I thought of was that if I can combine this with my writing, then I've hit gold. So
it took you. See, this is the journey that I think is so great and it's so unique, and that it started just walking on to little clubs and doing 2 minutes, and being booed sometimes, being cheered other times. And then that led to writing. Then that led to the Daily Show. Then, all these little steps that, you never predict, or you can't predict along the way. I just find it so interesting, and just the stick-to-itiveness that I think that is a great quality of yours. Can you talk about your stick-to-itiveness? Because I think that's the kind of thing that listeners need to hear, because we all run into these roadblocks,
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I'm too stupid to know when to quit. Maybe that's
good. That should be like your campaign slogan.
I'm Samir Butt, too stupid to quit. Yeah, I don't know. I get things in my head, and then I just can't let go of them.
Yeah.
I wish I could say what it is, or it's almost not even a conscious thing, but I just don't let go of things until I've kind of seen them through.
Well, I know that you said that you have to, and this goes back to you saying earlier about knowing your faults. You force yourself. You have a forced schedule, and you have. Talking about your process a little bit, you have a way of doing things and making sure your work gets done.
So yes, and just to go back to your earlier question about the stick to it, the flip side of that is that just like when I really want to, when something gets into my head that is something I want to do or pursue, I can't let go. The flip side of that is that no matter how rewarding something seems on the surface, if my heart and my mind isn't into it, no one can make me do it. I'll walk away from it. And I have done that. Like, people have asked me, how could you walk away from finance after putting all this time into it? I was like, because it didn't mean anything to me. So that's the other side of it. That if something, if I don't feel it, it's very easy for me to drop it and walk away also. So,
but the things you do believe in, you're never going to let go, are you?
No, I'm too stupid to quit. Yeah. So those things I'm too stupid to quit, and the other things I'm too stupid to appreciate. So yes, it's a blessing or a curse.
Well, we'll go with blessing for now. Okay.
So and then to answer your question about my process, that's another one of the challenges, because I've come to realize that it's very hard for me to write, for example, in New York, or when I'm in my life, so to speak, because there's always something that distracts me. So pretty much anything that I have written that has ever that's ever grown legs, it's somewhere where I've been sequestered away from here, distracted, off the grid, and it's just me, my thoughts, and maybe some kind of stimulus of a new city or nature or something like that, where I just go, I kind of immerse myself in that and the strangeness, the wonder, and then I come back and there's no television, there's nothing else to do but to kind of, that just all gets filtered. Yeah. And then I get the work done, because there's also a part of me that's kind of lazy, and so it, when it comes to this, like to get things started is always very hard for me when it comes to writing. Yeah. So that's one part of the process. Like, I'm looking to start 2 new screenplays, and I'm going to be going away to do that. Yeah. And then once I've laid the bones down, then I can keep working on it. I can keep chipping away at it. But the hardest thing to do is to put the skeletal structure down for me. That's where most of the work goes for me.
Yeah. I found that so many people have asked me. Well, I run into people who say, I have a book, or I'm thinking about a book, or I have a story. You should hear this story. And what I tell people, and it sounds like maybe I'm being short with them, I don't know, but basically I say, so just write it. Just write it. Yeah. And I find that as you're sitting down doing it will be better than you thought it would be, than it could be, because you're doing it now, and you're into it, and you're involved in it, and as you're writing it, then you say, oh, wait a second, what if this happened, or what if that happened? What if this person walked into the room at this time? And then it changes everything. And that really is a thing I like to tell people is, go do it, man. Go do it. You have, I read, I don't know where this stands, your screenplay. I read your screenplay, and, I mean, it's very powerful, number one. And the word I use is, I think it's very brave of you to have written it. So I want to talk about your screenplay for a little while, and I'd love to know where you are with it. You know what I mean? What's going to happen?
Oh, thank you for your kind words about it. Yeah. So there's a production company out in California called Gobsmack, and the producer, the guy who owns the company, Shyam Madhiraju, he's a friend, and he's a producer on this. He's taken this project on. He's taken the screenplay on. We're in the process of raising money for it right now. I have some funds in place. We're looking to do this for about just under $1 million, and hopefully looking to shoot it this year. So, like I said, we've got some funds in place. We're looking to raise a little more money, and that's the goal. Sometime this year to.
Well, I don't know how much you want to give away, but it's sort of based a little bit on, I guess, not something that happened to you, but something that was going on with you, and then you felt you expanded